Welcome back to the Latina Presente podcast, our space to say it out loud. I'm your host, Yvonne Armenta. We share our stories and explore both personal experiences and larger conversations that impact our community. Every episode is an opportunity to come together, to reflect on our past, connect to our present, and share our individual and collective voice to impact our future. I'm excited about today's episode because it's actually a bonus episode with Doctora Yvette. If you have not yet watched or listened to our full episode, go ahead and do that. But I thought it'd be fun to bring this bonus episode to you as well because we kind of get into, I think, some interesting topics. We're calling it a bonus episode, but I want you all to know that this is more like como cuando estás en el party, when you're at a party and you say, okay, bye, ya nos vamos, we're leaving, and you're still there like 2 hours later because el chisme está bueno. This is what that was. In fact, all Latina Presente podcast guests develop a speech that they deliver at the end of each podcast episode. You can also find that on our YouTube channels and across platforms. I offer them a 30-minute consultation, some feedback on their speech should they need it, and Doctora Yvette and I started getting into a conversation about her speech that then led into what you are going to hear today. We talk a little bit about neurodivergence. We talk a little bit about family dynamics that still stay with us today. And we end the episode with just risas. I hope you enjoy this little chisme session, and please don't forget to check out our full episode with Doctora Yvette. It is one of my favorite conversations, and I'm really grateful to her for the time spent on this, as well as you all for tuning in. So, muchas gracias. Enjoy this bonus episode y nos vemos a la próxima. This is like one of my favorite parts of
I feel
doing
like
these
you and I
super
could just
spotlights.
geek out on public
100%.
speaking,
You know what? I
storytelling,
literally everything.
inspiration. I love. I low key was like checking out your session in Latinas and podcasting because I was like, this is my jam.
Yeah, no, like everything that you were saying was like very like the experiences that you were talking about like mirror a lot of my
Yeah,
experiences with like
because you also
theater
had a single
and
mom, right? Yeah,
yeah,
or
yeah,
had to have. Yeah, I'm like my mom's
oldest
still single.
yeah, oldest daughter. My mom was kind of not super involved in my education because she couldn't
Same. My
really
mom
like
couldn't
I
either.
signed all
Yeah.
my reading logs. I'm like,
Oh, you
you know,
so my signature became my mom's signature. Like when she signed stuff, like people were like, "Is this a fake signature?"
mirrored my signature by my mom's signature, and I was like,
Mm.
okay, Yvonne. So I just did the Y and a bunch of
Uh-huh.
scribbles.
That's
So
so
like, and
funny.
that was
We have the same.
my
Me too.
yeah,
The Y.
literally, literally, it looks the same. So it
Oh
was just
my
like,
god.
it took me back too
Oh.
to my I guess origin story. And it also makes me wonder, like every time I hear people talk about how autism shows up for them or their ADHD shows up for them, I'm like, I really need to go get assessed. Because I think to your point, I've been
Mhm.
masking too, right? It's so easy
Mhm.
to do that, and it's like well, like my concept of it is like, oh well, it hasn't caused any. I've still been successful. I've been able to do my homework. I've been able
Yeah.
to do this, but it's like, but I've struggled through it. So
Yeah.
anyway,
We
I
can
really
always chat
appreciate.
about that too. That's another one of my like things that I can geek out on is talking about neurodivergence, specifically autism and ADHD, and also talking about executive functioning skills and how a lot of us, like, we have had executive dysfunction, but we've learned to accommodate ourselves. And because of that,
Mm,
plus masking, we might not notice like all the ways that we have been, again, like I said, accommodating ourselves, and we've been also struggling a lot, like struggling in silence. But
yeah, no,
anyway, like I'm not saying you are, because obviously,
no,
we
I
all go
know. I
through our
need to.
own journey. But the
Yeah,
fact that you even resonate with it is like a
it's probably
sign.
an indicator. Yeah, no, I mean, I was just telling. I met with Kita yesterday, and I was just telling her, I was like, my partner Renee, he does not like there. I have a water bottle, various different water bottles. They all serve a different purpose, and I tell myself I want to be a minimalist, but I can't because like everyone's different, right? And there's a specific water bottle that I have with all my stickers on it. That's the
Hmm.
one that I use to make sure I'm actually drinking water. I enjoy drinking water out of that
Hmm.
one. I left it in his cousin's car one day, and I was like, he lives maybe like 30 minutes away, which I guess here is far. And I was like, no, we need to go get my water bottle.
Yes.
I got into an argument about it.
Oh
Like,
my
we need to go
gosh.
get my water bottle. And he's like, just
Yeah.
use a cup that we have here. I was like, no, 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 you don't understand. It's not the same. He's like, it literally is the same. I was like, no, it's not. Right. And these things happen to me. Like,
Yeah.
I have thousands, hundreds of mugs, not hundreds, but I've been using this
I use
one
the
because
same
I like
freaking
the
mug
shape.
every single morning. If I
I
don't
like
have
the
it, if it's
shape of
dirty, I
it.
get mad.
Yeah, I like the shape of it. I have to wash it before the night before so that it's ready for me to use. And like next week, I'm probably gonna have a different one, right? But this one has been the thing. So there's little things like that,
Yeah.
and that I am now recognizing and have almost. I think that since becoming like an entrepreneur, the time and ability to just notice it in myself.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
it's been really interesting.
with autism, it's usually like this triangle around like having overlaps in different areas. One of them is the most obvious that everybody thinks about. It's the social challenges.
Mhm.
So that's one of them. The other one is around um, your habits and like the rigidity, the routine, the stimming. And stimming shows up differently for some people. For some, it's like really obvious, the flapping, while for others it might be twirling the hair, chewing the gum. And then the other one, so it's the social, the rigidity, the routine, the sensory sensitivities. So like what it might be being very sensitive to light or to sounds, or sometimes it's hyposensitivity. So sometimes it's like
Mm.
you don't react the way that other people react to certain things, like it doesn't phase you. So anyway, those are like the different areas. If you find yourself relating to that constellation of like challenges,
Yeah, yeah,
then,
I
then it
do.
might be good to like consider an assessment, or even something like the RADS. The RADS is an exam that you can take, RAADS. It's like a self-assessment. And
Mm,
it can, again, it just gives you more points, like more data. And you can even bring that up to an assessor or
yeah.
someone that, yeah.
And what is the just last minute last thing? What is the actual, cuz like I keep thinking I resonate and maybe I
Mm-hmm.
can go do, like the RADS thing that you just mentioned is like
Yeah,
a
it's
self-assessment.
called the RADS R. If you look up RAADS, um, it's a it's an
Okay.
exam. It's under like Embrace Autism. It's a self
Yeah.
exam that you can take, and it's
Okay.
pretty spot on.
Okay.
So,
Cuz I think about the
yeah.
self-assessment, the like if there is any what's the word? Not
Oh, well,
controversy or
like, there's always the controversy around being self-diagnosed versus formally diagnosed. And I struggled with owning my identity as autistic, even though I suspected for many years since my son was diagnosed. But I didn't,
Mm,
I just said, I'm neurodivergent because I felt that I needed that permission from official documentation to call
mm.
myself that. But after a while, the more you learn, the more you read. As an academic, I'm like, I've read enough about this shit to know that I am. And
Yeah,
then I
yeah.
got the confirmation, and I'm like, well, that wasn't a surprise.
Yeah, you're like, "Well, that I shouldn't have spent my money on that." I'm just kidding.
I know, because they're expensive. So
Yeah,
anyway,
yeah.
I didn't mean to make this whole other little thing, but I'm always up to chat because I am such a nerd, and like anything related, maybe not. And even I'm not diagnosed ADHD, but I identify as ADHD, so autism and ADHD.
Mm.
Forget stuff. I have to double check the stove just to make sure I turn everything off, because sometimes I forget. So like the forgetfulness, just other areas of executive
Yeah,
challenges
like,
like come up a lot.
I've always sucked at remembering, like, birthdays. It's like, if it's not in my face, I can't
Yes.
remember it,
That's called object permanence, by the way.
and that was one of the
Yeah.
things, someone said that I've learned too that it can be passed down and whatnot. And I was like, well, my mama definitely don't got none of that, right? Like, my mom is not that. Um, but one of the things that one of my traumas from growing up is my dad would never remember my birthday. And he would text me,
Oh.
my birthday's July 18th. He would text me in June. And then he would text me in August. And then he would text me, like, it was sometimes I wouldn't get a text at all,
Yeah.
right? And I was always like, how can you be a dad and not remember your daughter's birthday? Like you were, all these things,
Yeah.
right? And then uh later I was like, well, I also do the same, and it's not because I don't
Yeah.
care about people. So it kind of just made me it still obviously didn't excuse any of the other stuff, but
Yeah.
I can see why, because he had made the decision to separate himself from our family, why we would, because I wasn't in his face, he wouldn't know, he wouldn't remember.
Yeah.
Um because when he had a daughter and her birthday was the day after mine, then after once she was born, I think because he had something to
Remind him.
remind him,
Mhm.
then my birthday text would start to be more, were actually on my
Wow.
birthday.
You know what's
Yeah.
wild? My dad would forget to pick me up from school. And so that's like one of my traumas. I'm like, I will never forget my kid. I will never be late to attending anything because he was late to everything, including my, sorry, now I'm getting mad. I was gonna say, including my fucking high school graduate, no, my middle school, which one was it? Elementary school graduation. I'm like, I remember like big events. He was late and he'd show up with his
Mhm.
hair like wet because he just barely got out of the shower. And it was one of those things where I'm like because for every one of my graduations, I was the speaker, the
Mhm.
commencement speaker. And I'm like, I am here, like up on the stage, and I would look in the crowd and I'd see my mom, or I'd see a tia, or I'd see my brother, but I wouldn't see my dad. And I'm like, ah,
Mhm.
he's late. So him forgetting to pick me up, you saying my dad forgot my birthday, I'm like, that reminds me of like my dad forgetting me, like forgetting
Yeah.
to pick me up.
Yeah.
Oh.
And it's something that I've, like, lived with for a really long time, because I always blamed it on, like, him just not being a present father and all these
I thought
things.
that too, and I didn't think that it was probably tied to his own executive
Yeah,
dysfunction.
and the fact that,
Uh,
like, men don't, like, we at least to some capacity get to talk about it amongst one another, but, like,
mhm.
men don't even talk about this kind of stuff with each other in their friend groups, you
Right.
know?
Men and friendships and
Yeah,
relationships
and, like,
among men is
shame
so
around
weird.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So anyways, I'm actually gonna take that, self-assessment, because I think there's something.
I feel like my husband had this shirt that was like, join the dark side, we have cookies, and it's Darth Vader with some cookies. And the
That's
part of me is
literally,
like,
yep,
join the dark side, Yvonne, we have
yep.
cookies.
Seriously, seriously, and that, yeah,
But also, if it's not that, also like, we also relate as introverts and
yeah.
Latinas.
No, honestly, like, the conversations that I've had, because I've had with folks that are, like, they've officially been
Mhm.
medically diagnosed, I'm like, "Hold up, me too." Like, "Wait, me too on that." I'm like, "Wait."
I
So,
can
anyway.
usually tell because I can usually like lift the mask around other fellow neurodivergent folks. Whereas with other folks, if I feel compelled to keep it on 24/7, I'm like, yeah, they're probably neurotypical.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna let you go. I know we're way over time. This was so much fun. Probably
Yeah,
like
thank you.
my most fun podcast interview I've done. Oh my gosh. Anyway, I'm gonna let you go. I'm gonna work on that thing. I'm gonna send it
Yeah.
at the end of the week. This was so fun. Thank you again. I appreciate you, and I'll be in touch.